So with a breathing drill, so what we're going to do, we call this 90-90 breathing. So we've got a 90-degree knee bend and a 90-degree hip bend roughly, okay? So pop your feet up on top of something. Now, this is an active position rather than a passive or a rested position. So you're not just kind of flopping your legs. You're going to actively hold yourself with the toes towards you. So once you're in that position, your knees are directly above your hips. You don't want to be back here, so make sure you've kind of scooched yourself in. You're then going to try and kind of keep your neck long. So there's a slight chin tuck. Now, it's an individual thing, so if you're very tight back here, you might actually need a cushion or something to put your head on, just to raise it up a little bit to be more comfortable, and just so you can get a little bit of a chin tuck. Whatever is a little bit of a chin tuck for you is fine. We want a nice wide chest in this position, rather than being kind of rounded forward, so chin tuck. And then we want to try and keep our ribs down, as opposed to being lifted and flared up. Now that might be hard for you to get a sense of initially at the start, but this breathing is going to help with that. So what you're going to do is breathe all the air out through pursed lips. So I'll show you what that looks like. And that actually starts to flatten the ribs and pull them down. We then breathe in through the nose, trying to breathe wide into the ribs, the outside of the ribs. So you're breathing wide, and then breathe all the air out. And the pursed lips, the tension there forces the muscles here to contract, to try and kind of force the air out of the lower portion of the lungs and come back out. And that's why that resistance is important, because if it's not there, these muscles don't have to contract, which means they won't pull the ribs down, they won't tighten up. So very good kind of to get your breathing right. It's much easier to use your core muscles effectively if you're breathing well. So it's breathing all the air out through pursed lips, in through the nose. And you're trying to fill, so when I say breathing wide, you're trying to get the breath going wide, which will help kind of fill from the front and the back. It's a 360-degree breath on the way in, so we're trying to fill all the way through here, as opposed to breathing very much up in the chest. And if we breathe in through the chest, the shoulders will lift, and we'll breathe with all their accessory muscles up here, which will actually cause them to be overworking, and therefore will get achy and sore and tired and tight. Which obviously we're trying to kind of reduce that. So that's why we have that neck long, and we're trying to get all the breath through here to relax everything in the upper portion of the torso. So I'll show you a few more. Wall ankle mobility, set up facing a door or a wall, toes a few inches, maybe 4 or 5 inches away from the wall. And what we're going to do is push the knee towards the wall, keeping the heel flat down on the ground. Allow the foot to soften in this position, and then pull that back. So push the knee towards the wall. Now if you can touch the wall, you're probably a little bit too close, so pull back. The idea is just to be millimeters or centimeters away from the wall. So you've got a kind of a distance to gauge, and you're going to try and push in over the course of it and see if you can open up that ankle, stretch out the calf, loosen out the joints in the foot, and end up getting closer to the wall in your last one. So you might need a cushion to sit onto, depends on your floor, so mat or a cushion. Key with this one is I'll show you from a different few angles. So it's feet nice and wide. You're going to use your hands to lean your weight onto. So your feet are nice and wide. Try and kind of walk them out a little bit more. And you're trying to bring your heels back towards your backside. From this position down, what you're going to do is let your knees roll over as close to the floor as possible. And then over onto the other side. And you're going to rotate your hips. Roll through your hips, so shins getting closer towards the floor. Now, it doesn't matter where you get to starting off with. You can just build that as you're going along.
your hip on this side doesn't have to stay down, so you don't have to stay fully seated on the floor. So you can come all the way around and see my backside is lifted up off here. Rolling through. And when you're down into this position, this knee should be inside this foot, okay? Not kind of out like that, or coming up on top of us. And that's why when we set up, we want a nice wide stance with the heels towards the backside, so that when we drop this knee down towards the floor, it ends up inside the sole of this foot, or kind of in line with it, if that makes sense. That's the important thing. As you do this, depending on what surface you're on, you may slide around a little bit, and you may actually end up in kind of something like this position where you're leaning onto your arms an awful lot. So you can readjust your position as you need fit, and give your arms a little bit of a break whenever.
Active leg raising. Start with your legs out straight. Pull the toes towards your head, and then breathe in, lift the leg up, breathe out. Breathe in, lift the leg up, and breathe out. Keeping the legs straight, so the knee is straight. Come up until you feel a stretch on the back of the thigh anywhere. Try not to kick up too high, it's not a fast movement. Want to keep that leg nice and straight, locked out. Gently tip the floor. And the other leg is staying dead straight, so it's locked out. Think about pushing the back of the knee into the floor, that other leg, like so. Next exercise is the cat camel. So this is going to help move the spine. So a lot of things is when we have a stiff neck and shoulders, a lot of times is we're stiffer in other places, we just don't know it yet. And sometimes the neck can almost be overworking, or it's kind of, its position is dictated by the position of the other parts of the body. So if you set up into all fours for this one, keep the weight above the hands as much as you're able to, and then you're going to push the floor away with the hands and try and round your back up. Now when you're doing that, you're also going to try and tuck your pelvis, your hips under. So you have two bones at the front of your hips here. So what I call this is your belt line. So imagine you've got a big belt buckle on that line. So what we're trying to do is get that just tilting up towards the roof. And we're going to try and move that area, so that belt line. And we're tucking under like so. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to round up and tuck under. And then we're going to reverse that position. So what we're going to do is try and tilt that pelvis, those two bones down, tilting downwards. My tailbone is lifting up. And I'm going to try and arch through my mid back. So from this position, what I'm going to do is I've got a logo here, and I'm going to try and show that logo to you by lifting my breastbone forward, so that my t-shirt kind of tightens around it, and I'm pushing that forward. So we reverse up into cat position, tucking that belt buckle under, pushing the floor away, and then reversing that. Trying to open up the chest. And with this one, take it slowly on it and just try not to hold your breath. So just breathe in and out through it whenever you remember to breathe. There's no kind of necessarily set breathing position for you. So you can push yourself into the end range and then just kind of tell yourself breathe, and then reverse it. Get yourself into that end range position and breathe. Reverse it. Pushing the floor away. Proud chest. And when you're getting that proud chest, a lot of times the neck will want to do that movement. So try not to look up too high or lift the neck too high. That we're trying to get the movement from the mid back there. And the more movement we can get in that area, the less movement or the less pressure the neck will have to take during everyday spirals. You can do these in a tall kneeling position. You can pop a cushion underneath your knees if you want to. You can also do these standing. You're going to have your hands out like so, roughly in line with the shoulders. You're going to turn the palm up on one side, so the thumb points towards the roof and then flattens back out, and the thumb's pointing behind you. So your hand, your elbow are facing towards the roof, like so. This inside of the elbow and the little finger, we're trying to kind of get as much rotation available to us from that position. And then the backhand, what we're going to do is we're going to turn that down. So the thumb's going to turn down towards the floor. The inside of the elbow is going to turn down towards the floor. And then we're going to try and turn the thumb so it comes back up towards the roof. That little finger will turn down towards the floor. Let the shoulder roll forward as far as it's comfortable for you. So it's not going to stay back here. It's going to roll forward, and we're going to get as much movement. And that's our kind of finished position. So we're going to spiral
from one side to the other. Trying to keep the hand up. It'll want to drop down, so again, whatever's comfortable for you, to try and keep the hands in line with each other. Breathe out. Breathe in on the transition, breathe out, and again we're trying to turn that shoulder down, turn the elbow down and around, turn the thumb up towards the roof, and then the same on the opposite way, elbow up, finger up towards the roof. Taking your time, breathing in and out through it. And you're going to look towards the palm up side, that little finger up towards the roof side, every time you're doing that. Again, take your time on it, and no need to go fast on it. We're trying to increase that range of movement in your rotation over time as you're doing this.
For the squat to seat, get a chair or something, and you can bolster yourself up with a cushion or two. And the idea is to just kind of get a consistent range of movement on it. So I've got this cushion, feet slightly wider than your shoulders. Turn your toes slightly out, and what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and tip the cushion. So you're not actually putting your weight on it, you're just tipping the cushion. And it'll give you that consistent range of movement and get stronger within that range. As you do get stronger, you can get rid of the cushion, or you can have a couple of cushions and kind of build your range of movements as you're able to come down all the way, tip it, and come back up. And we're not actually sitting onto it, so you're not taking the pressure, the kind of emphasis off the leg. So we're tipping and back up, tipping and back up. And at all times what we're trying to do is maintain a fairly straight back as you're coming down and that up. So it won't be perfectly vertical. You'll hinge into it a little bit, but your shoulders will remain above the feet rather than kind of leaning forward or rounding the back. Really try and sit the bum down, tip the couch and back up. The dead bug gets its name by like a bug lying on its back down with the hands and kind of legs are in the air. So to start off with this one, feet flat on the ground, chin slightly tucked and neck long at the back, so we're not kind of shortening the neck or having tightness in the shoulders. You may need a cushion underneath your head if you're very far back in this position due to tightness. So try and get the chin tucked, neck long. Keep the chest wide in this position. Again, we don't want to be kind of shoulders rounded. So chest is open and wide. I want to keep the ribs down, okay? That'll be hard to get at the moment, but as you do the exercise, you'll get a sense of those ribs being down, as opposed to the ribs being flared up. We're going to try and keep those ribs down. So from this position, what we're going to do is lift one leg up, and starting from here, we're going to breathe all the air out through pursed lips until the heel tips the floor. It doesn't put pressure on the floor, just lightly tips the floor. Inhale on the way up, and we're trying to force the air out from down here. So it's pursed lips are very important. So you're providing resistance for you to breathe out. By providing that resistance, the core muscles, the muscles that do pull the rib down and keep yourself strong and stable through here, are kind of forced to work better. The more you do that, the more you get a sense of the tightness, keeping those ribs pulled down and flat, as opposed to that kind of lifted in the ribs where the muscles here are kind of pulling up too tight. We're keeping those ribs down. To do the front plank, very important that we're going to feel it here on our abdominal muscles and not into our lower back. And that's largely to do with the setup and the posture and positioning you're getting into it. So when you're setting up, essentially what we're going to do is line flat on the ground, set up so the elbows are underneath the shoulders, and you're kind of flat in the forearms. Start off on your knees, and you're going to pull yourself, starting from your kind of ribs, mid-torso, off the floor. And we're looking to have a flat spine in this position. So we're keeping the thighs down. Rather than lifting the thighs up, we're lifting the backside up in the air. When we lift up, I want to keep the weight above the elbows, and then we lift up and we hold that position. We're looking for a straight line roughly between the shoulders and the hips. And then we hold the position. And you can hold it for 5, 10, 15 seconds and just build up your endurance on it. But it's important that we feel it through here and not into the lower back. Now what can happen is you can feel it in your here first, and then it kicks into the lower back, and that's just a sign to stop, that you're starting to shift into using the other muscles, the wrong muscles to do the movement. Or it's a sign that you've changed your posture while you're doing it, and you're starting to dip in and arch into your lower back. So again, for the front plank, elbows underneath the shoulders, lift the mid torso up, and then let the rest of the body follow. But keep the thighs down, relaxing the shoulders as best as you can, and then we hold and breathe through it as normally. For the squat to seat, get a chair or something, and you can bolster yourself up with a cushion or two. And the idea is to just kind of get a consistent range of movement on it. So I've got this cushion, feet slightly wider than your shoulders, turn your toes slightly out, and what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and tip the cushion. So you're not actually putting your weight on it, you're just tipping the cushion. And it'll give you that consistent range of movement and get stronger within that range. As you do get stronger, you can get rid of the cushion, or you can have a couple of cushions and kind of build your range of movements as you're able to come down all the way, tip it, and come back up. And we're not actually sitting onto it, so you're not taking the pressure, the kind of emphasis off the leg. So we're tipping and back up, tipping and back up. And at all times what we're trying to do is maintain a fairly straight back as you're coming down and that up. So it won't be perfectly vertical. You'll hinge into it a little bit, but your shoulders will remain above the feet rather than kind of leaning forward or rounding the back. We try and sit the bum down, tip the couch and back up. For tall kneeling towel pull aparts, grab a towel, fold it up and hold it nice and tight. Get into a tall kneeling position so the hips are above the knees, and then pull that towel apart as hard as you can and relax. Pull it apart as hard as you can and relax. So as you're pulling it apart, the intent is to try and pull it apart more, try and tear it. So don't just get to where you feel the initial tension is, try and pull past that tension. So pull it apart and then pull it apart a little bit more. Like so. Pushing the floor away. Proud chest. With a single leg hip bridge, hold your knee in nice and tight like so. And then with the other leg, with the heel, you're going to push that down through the floor. And your hip's going to come up a little bit. So I'll show you on this side with this foot. So you're going to hold the knee in nice and tight, and you're going to push that heel down through the floor, and this hip will come up. But we don't want this knee to move away from us. So we're hugging this knee really tight, pulling it in, push the floor down. And it's a very small range of movement, but it's an excellent exercise to fire up the muscles of the backside and get them. Just remind your body of how strong they could and should be. Now, as I said, don't worry about the range of movement. You might get millimeters off the floor or centimeters, that's okay. Just the intent of keeping this knee in and pushing the floor down. You're trying to make a dent in the floor with the heel. Push the floor down, push the floor down, push the floor. Push-ups, you're going to elevate your hands onto a couch raised surface. Try and get onto the kind of hard part of the couch rather than sinking into the cushion. And then staying on your knees, you're going to take the knees back a little bit so that you're leaning your weight forward over the hands. Your breastbone is going to be in line with the heel of the hand, especially when you get down to the bottom. That's the position we're looking for, rather than up here. The elbows are going to be slightly kind of tucked in rather than flared out. So we're not going to do push-ups like this. We're going to tuck those elbows in, not all the way, kind of roughly 45-degree angle. It looks like this. Now your whole body, your thighs, hips and torso should lower at the same time, and then push the couch away to come back up. And as you see, when you come down, those elbows are in line with roughly that kind of mid-torso, as opposed to being flared out in line with the shoulders. They're tucked in, which is a good position for the shoulders to be in. It allows us to train our arms and our torso in the best way possible. Taking your time, breathing in and out through it. Tempo breathing, body relaxed, knees bent or straight, in and out through the nose with holds.